How to do your makeup in 2026, Luxe edition. Let's go. All right, starting with the eyebrows. Of course, we clean off the eyebrows before we actually put any product on there. And then we go in with our 24-hour brow setter from Benefit. Probably my favorite luxury or prestige brow gel. There's not a lot that I like out there, so me liking this one is a good thing. To prep the eyelids, of course, I go in with the Too Faced Born This Way concealer to set the eyelids with and conceal discoloration on the eyelids, carving out the bottom of my eyebrows so that they're more defined. Now to set down these lids, I do like going in with the Charlotte Tilbury pressed powder and lightly setting down this concealer just so that we don't have any patchiness when we do our eyeshadows. Today's eyeshadow palette, I am taking the Icy Nudes Huda Beauty palette. So I'm going to just do a few shades in this and I'll come right back. Now to tightline and then add that mascara, I'm going in with the Makeup by Mario liner in the shade Super Black. It is super black, but it also stays really well. And then for mascara, I'll either go with the Amy Cole black mascara. So I'm just going to go in with a light layer of mascara just so that my lashes can actually blend together. Now for base, I'm going with my primer duo. This is the Danessa Universal Balm and the Water Powder Serum. These two together are such a beauty on the face. While the primer sinks into the skin, I'm going to take my Kosas Brow Pop Brow Pencil and just fill in my brows. I don't really do too much with my brows. I really just take the pencil and fill in any sparse areas. Now onto foundation. I'm taking my Estee Lauder Double Wear Foundation, the original formula, not the reformulated formula. I haven't tried that one out yet. I'm just going to take a bit of her on the back of my hand. And I'm going to just go ahead and tap my brush in and lightly place her on the face. While we're pressing it into the skin, because we're not swiping it, we're pressing it into the skin, we're also going to leave the under eye area alone because I don't want too much buildup of product under the eye because we're also going to put concealer there. Taking the Natasha Denona bronzer. This is in the shade Toasty. I just take that on the back of my hand just to bit, not too much, and I take my brush, dip it into it, tap it out, tap any excess out a little bit, and then go onto the skin and start sculpting. Again, we're pressing into the skin where we want to lay down the product and buffing that out. No swiping motions, we're only stippling it right into the skin. And I also take that along the side of my nose. And if you feel like you've ever did a little too much, just go back in with your foundation brush and just tap right over it just to bring down some of the darkness, blend it out a bit more. Now for blush, I do like to go in with a few blushes. Sometimes I go in with 2, sometimes I go in with 3 different blushes. But blushes that we are using today are all from Danessa Myricks. I'm going to be taking the shade Jubilee, It Girl, and I'm also going to be using her Color Fix as a blush in the shade Bunny, hopefully. Starting out with Toasty, this is a more orangey, bronzy kind of blush. And I like to keep that with the bronzer just to add as our beginner shade. Once I've taken Jubilee, I'm going to go in with It Girl, which is a little bit more pink, as we can see. We're going to take that a little bit more on top of Jubilee. We're bringing it a little bit more in and a little bit more up under the eyes as well. Now we're going to go in with Bunny. I'm going to actually take that on the back of my hand. It is a very light lavender kind of pink. And then I'm going to tap my brush into it and really take this starting a little bit under the eye and bringing that down to blend into the blush. It is very pigmented, by the way. And we're just doing a lot of blending. Concealer, we're going with the Charlotte Tilbury concealer. All right, now that we have all our creams on, it's time to go in with our powders. First, we're going to go in with the Huda Beauty powder, and we're going to take a nice amount, be really flat on the puff. I'm going to go ahead and tap this right on under the eye. And we're going to use the remainder of it to really set the face. Now we're gonna go again. Again, we're setting most of our creams very lightly just so that it doesn't stick when we put on the rest of our powders. Now, while we let that bake on the eye, we're gonna just finish up under the eyes just a bit. I'm gonna go ahead and add some mascara, add the liner again, and some more shadows, and then I'll be right back. All right, eyes are completely finished. Now let's warm back up the face with our bronzer. This is the Hung Van Go bronzer. And of course, again, we just run this along the side of the nose, bringing it up to the eyebrow. Again, it depends on how your nose is shaped. And now the same way that we layered our blush with creams, we're also going to layer our brush with powders. The first one is Rare Beauty in the shade Worth. It is more of that orangey tone. So we're going to start with that one, again, closer to the bronzer. Then we're going to go in with another Rare Beauty one in the shade Happy. This is a bit more pink, which is perfect. We're going to place that one more inside to the apples of the cheek, but not directly on the apples of the cheek. So it's on the outside of the apples. This one's just giving us that pink feel. And then lastly, one of my favorites, we're taking the House Labs in the shade Dragon Fruit Days, really coating that on the brush and going from a little bit under the eye and blending down into the Rare Beauty blushes. This one you can, again, bring a little bit more on the apples of the cheek, but I keep it more on the outside. I don't really like it directly on the apples of my cheeks. It's a little bit too much. So I keep it a little bit out, not too far, but right in the middle of my apples of my cheek and temple. Now that we have all these powders on, let's take the Huda Beauty Easy Bake Spray and spray down this face and spray down all those powders. Now, one thing that I like to do is use a pressed powder once all that powder gets pushed into the skin, just to really top off the look. I can either use it with a brush or I can also use it with a powder puff. It really doesn't make a difference. Today I am going to use a brush and tap into that product. This is the one by Huda Beauty again. And I really lightly set that center of the face, brush over the blush just a tad bit so everything looks really smooth and cohesive. Look at the difference of this side to this side. I just like seeing it just seamlessly flow into the face. If I do want to brighten the center, I will just take it on the forehead and on the chin as well. Then, of course, if you want a nice little razzle dazzle for a highlight, we're going to take the Dior Glow Miser palette. And I personally just use the whole palette because I feel like that gives me the best highlight. And I just take it really wherever I see fit. This day, I'm actually going to take it a little bit right on that bone. I'm going to take it right on that cheekbone. Add that gleam to the skin. I am also going to put a little bit on the nose. When I do it on the nose, I avoid the pink one just because I don't really want my nose to be that pinky. I don't really like that look. And then I take some just right down the center of the nose as well. I like that gleam. And a bit on the Cupid's bow. Now let's set one final time with the Urban Decay All Nighter. Now for lips, we are going to take a few shades. I am going to start with Limitless Brown by Makeup Forever. And to blend that down, I am going to take Anywhere Caffeine. In between those shades, I am going to take Endless Cacao. Yeah, I like that. Then for lipstick, I'm going to take my Anastasia Beverly Hills Lip Velvet in the shade Pink Sand right in the center. I feel like that's a good base nude, but I do want it to be a bit pinker. So I'm going in with my Lawless gloss in the shade Strawberry Milkshake. And I feel like that's really going to give us the pink that we're looking for. And this is the finished look. Now, I don't want to hear any excuses about not being able to do your makeup in 2026. Perfect. Now, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and also subscribe. We are on the road to 1,000. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.